October 2015. A Verizon customer service representative answers the phone. The voice on the other end sounds confident and authoritative. "This is Mark Giuliano, Deputy Director of the FBI. I need to verify account information for a federal investigation." The customer service rep doesn't hesitate because this sounds official and urgent. She pulls up the account, ready to help with whatever the FBI needs. What she doesn't know is that the person on the other end isn't calling from FBI headquarters in Washington. He's sitting in his bedroom in Leicestershire, England, wearing pajamas. He's 16 years old. His name is Kane Gamble, and he's about to hack his way into some of the most sensitive accounts in the American intelligence community, using nothing but a phone, a convincing voice, and online password reset systems. This wasn't some sophisticated cyber attack with malware or zero-day exploits, just a British teenager with phone-based social engineering combined with online account recovery flows. And it worked, repeatedly. What Kane did over the next few months would humiliate the CIA, embarrass the FBI, and expose the personal information of thousands of federal agents to the world. He'd leak the CIA director's private emails for everyone to see. He'd dox nearly 30,000 government employees in a massive public dump. And he'd do it all while living with his parents, going to school, and living a completely normal life on the surface. The FBI would eventually catch him, of course they would, but by then the damage was done, in ways that couldn't be undone. Personal and sensitive information was exposed, and a teenager with zero criminal record had proven that the most powerful agencies in the world were vulnerable to something as simple as a phone call combined with weak account recovery systems. How did a kid from a quiet English town become one of the most wanted hackers targeting America? Let's rewind and find out. Kane Gamble was just a regular British teenager from Colville, Leicestershire, living the kind of small-town life that doesn't make headlines. Normal family, ordinary life, went to school, hung out with friends, played video games. Nothing about him screamed international cybercriminal to anyone who knew him. But Kane had this thing, curiosity, the obsessive kind that doesn't let go. By age 15, he was deep into online gaming communities and hacker forums, places where people traded techniques for bypassing security and manipulating systems. Kane wasn't particularly interested in the technical stuff like writing code, creating malware, or finding exploits. That bored him. What fascinated him was people and how easily they could be manipulated. Social engineering. That's what it's called in the security world. It's the art of manipulating people into giving you information they absolutely shouldn't give you. Kane studied it obsessively through forums full of techniques, phishing, which is voice phishing, pretexting, impersonation, all of it. These were simple methods that turned out to be surprisingly effective when executed with confidence. Kane started experimenting with these techniques, testing to see if what he'd learned actually worked in practice, calling companies and pretending to be account holders who needed password resets. And the techniques did work, consistently and reliably. The rush was incredible for him, this sense of power and control, the ability to become someone else just by changing your voice and knowing the right things to say. Then he found Crackers with Attitude, known as CWA, a loose collective of hackers with a loosely defined mission. They wanted to embarrass U.S. intelligence agencies as a form of protest, citing opposition to American foreign policy, particularly regarding Palestine, and broader anti-authority themes. They weren't the most technically skilled hackers in the world, but they understood something crucial that many others missed. Humans are always the weakest link in any security system, no matter how sophisticated the technology gets. Kane joined up and took the handle Kraka, which fit perfectly with the group's name. And he turned out to be good at this. Really good. Better than anyone else in the group at social engineering. Where others failed to get past security, Kane succeeded with impressive consistency. His voice, his confidence, his ability to think on his feet and adapt to unexpected questions made him perfect for this kind of operation. By mid-2015, Kane wasn't targeting small organizations anymore for practice. He was going after major telecommunications companies, most notably Verizon. And his targets weren't random account holders or low-level employees anymore. They were government officials at the highest levels of American intelligence. He had no idea how far this would go or what the consequences would be. None of them in CWA did. But once you start winning and getting that validation, it becomes almost impossible to stop.
Here's how the attack worked, and it's both simple and devastatingly effective, even today. Kane would start by researching his target thoroughly: a government official, agency employee, anyone with access to sensitive information or interesting connections. He'd find their phone number, email address, home address, and other personal details. This information wasn't particularly hard to locate since a lot of it exists in semi-public databases or can be pieced together from social media. Then came the execution phase, which is where Kane's talent really showed. Picture Kane sitting down with his phone, a prepared script, and his research notes. He'd call the target's internet service provider, let's say Verizon for this example. When an employee picked up the call, Kane would immediately slide into character with complete confidence. "Hi, this is Target's name calling. I'm locked out of my account and need to verify my identity to regain access. Can you help me with that?" The employee would naturally ask the standard security questions to verify identity. What's your mother's maiden name? What are the last 4 digits of your social security number? What's your date of birth? Kane already knew all the answers because he'd found them through public records, previous data breaches, or social media profiles where people overshare. He'd answer each question confidently, without hesitation, exactly like the real account holder would. "Perfect, thank you so much for verifying. Now I just need to reset my password so I can get back into my account. Can you help me with that?" Just like that, he could gain access to the account. Sometimes it was even easier than that. Kane would call pretending to be the target themselves, acting locked out and desperate for help. Other times he'd impersonate an IT administrator or even a law enforcement officer conducting an investigation. The key to success was always confidence, sounding like you belong there, like you have every legitimate right to that information, like this is just routine. And the employees? They genuinely wanted to help because that's literally their job. Verify the security questions, assist the customer efficiently, move on to the next call in the queue. They weren't trained to detect social engineering attacks back then, and many still struggle with recognizing these techniques today. Here's the concerning part. This basic attack can still work in 2024 when security protocols aren't properly followed. Sure, companies have added more verification steps, multi-factor authentication, and better employee training programs, but security researchers continue to demonstrate vulnerabilities in social engineering defenses across many organizations. One smooth-talking person with decent research skills and the right information can still potentially manipulate their way past security if protocols break down. Kane's techniques worked consistently enough to give him confidence to escalate, and with each success, his confidence grew exponentially, along with his willingness to take bigger risks. Bigger targets meant bigger thrills, and the rush of power became addictive. He was hooked on the feeling, and he was about to go after the biggest name imaginable.
October 2015. Kane makes a decision that's audacious, reckless, and completely insane by any measure. He's going to hack the CIA director's personal email account. Not just any CIA director, but John Brennan himself, the man responsible for overseeing some of America's most sensitive intelligence operations, the man at the helm of covert programs, global espionage, and national security operations. That guy's personal email was about to be compromised by a teenager in England. Kane starts with his usual thorough research on the target. He discovers that Brennan uses AOL for his personal email, which is ironic in itself. Yes, AOL. The CIA director, responsible for America's most sensitive intelligence operations, had an AOL email account. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when this eventually became public. Kane begins the attack by calling Verizon, which is Brennan's internet service provider. He doesn't pretend to be Brennan himself this time, which would be too risky. Instead, he claims to be a Verizon technician helping Brennan resolve account issues. He uses confident technical jargon and sounds completely official, exactly like someone from Verizon's internal support team would sound. The Verizon employee on the other end buys it completely without suspicion. "I need to verify the account recovery email and phone number for quality assurance purposes," Kane says smoothly. The employee provides exactly what Kane asks for without questioning anything. Kane now has access to Brennan's recovery options, which is the key to everything. Next step is calling AOL support with a different script prepared for this phase. "This is John Brennan calling. I'm locked out of my account and need help resetting my password." AOL support goes through their verification process using the information Kane now controls through his Verizon manipulation. They provide Kane with access to reset the password. He does so immediately, and just like that, he's inside John Brennan's personal email account. What Kane found inside was a treasure trove of embarrassing material. Draft documents of Brennan's SF-86 security clearance form, which was dozens of pages containing his personal history, family members' information, and foreign contacts, general work-related correspondence and policy discussions, communications with other officials about various matters. This wasn't classified material, but it was deeply personal and politically embarrassing on multiple levels. CWA made the decision to leak everything they'd obtained, publicly. WikiLeaks published the documents, and the media reaction was explosive. CIA director's email hacked by a teenager became the headline everywhere. Major news outlets covered it extensively. Brennan was forced to answer uncomfortable questions about his personal email security practices. The CIA itself, the actual Central Intelligence Agency, had been humiliated by a kid sitting in his bedroom in England. This case became a watershed moment in understanding insider threats versus external social engineering attacks. It's now studied extensively by cybersecurity professionals and government agencies worldwide because it demonstrates how human vulnerabilities persist, despite increasingly sophisticated technological defenses. For Kane and CWA, this was legendary status in the underground hacking community. Their Twitter accounts celebrated publicly, gaining thousands of followers. Kane felt absolutely invincible after pulling this off. But the Brennan hack was just the beginning of what was coming.
Kane couldn't stop after Brennan, and honestly, he didn't want to stop. The Brennan hack, it made him a star in hacker circles and given CWA credibility and attention. Their Twitter account, which Kane helped run, openly mocked the FBI and posted leaked data while taunting investigators. They had thousands of followers watching their every move, and media outlets covered their activities extensively. The next major target was Mark Giuliano, who was the FBI's deputy director at the time. Kane used similar social engineering tactics that had worked before, manipulating access through phishing attacks. Same smooth voice, same confident delivery, successful breach. He gained access to Giuliano's personal accounts, and CWA leaked his information publicly, adding another embarrassing chapter to the FBI's growing problem. Then came Jay Johnson, the Secretary of Homeland Security, who oversaw everything from immigration enforcement to cybersecurity policy. This attack was particularly brazen. Kane didn't just compromise email, he hijacked Johnson's phone, rerouted calls, and even changed his voicemail greeting. Kane also reportedly called Johnson's wife and left taunting messages, then changed the family's Netflix password as a prank. More leaked data dumped publicly for everyone to see. The pattern was clear, and CWA was on a roll that seemed unstoppable. CWA also targeted the FBI's systems more directly. They social engineered their way into the FBI's Law Enforcement Enterprise Portal help desk, gaining limited access. They reportedly penetrated a Department of Justice internet directory as well. These weren't deep network compromises, but they were embarrassing proof-of-concept attacks showing that even the FBI's internal systems were vulnerable to social engineering. But Kane and CWA weren't satisfied with just embarrassing individual officials anymore. Between late 2015 and early 2016, they escalated to something much bigger and more damaging. They managed to obtain approximately 29,000 DHS employee records, which included names, phone numbers, and email addresses. CWA's approach to these records was pure hacktivism rather than criminal enterprise. They dumped the entire database publicly online as a political statement, not to sell it for profit. The goal was maximum embarrassment for American intelligence agencies and to prove a point about security vulnerabilities. They called it a dox, exposing government employees who they believed were complicit in policies they opposed. The fallout from this massive data dump was immediate and severe. Nearly 30,000 federal employees suddenly had their personal information exposed to anyone with an internet connection. Many worried about harassment or security implications. The DHS had to implement emergency security protocols for affected employees. Meanwhile, the FBI was building their case against Kane and CWA. This involved extensive international cooperation between the FBI, MI5, and the UK's National Crime Agency. They traced CWA's Twitter posts back to source IPs, analyzed metadata from leaked documents, and tracked online communications. Slowly but methodically, they built a comprehensive profile of who was behind these attacks. Kane knew the authorities were closing in on him because CWA discussed it in their encrypted chats. OPSEC failures were piling up all around them, patterns in online activity, connections that could be traced, and behaviors that revealed identities. These were mistakes that hackers make when they get too confident. But Kane couldn't bring himself to stop the operation. Just one more hack, one more data dump, one more moment of validation and attention from the community. Stopping would mean admitting that he was addicted to the rush and the recognition, and he definitely wasn't ready to face that truth about himself. The FBI was closing in fast, and Kane could feel the pressure building, but the addiction to notoriety was stronger than his fear of consequences.
February 9th, 2016. Early morning in Colville. Kane is asleep in his bedroom, probably dreaming about his next target or basking in CWA's online reputation. There's a loud, urgent knock on the front door that changes everything. His parents answer, confused about who would be visiting this early. Police officers stand there, lots of them, from the UK National Crime Agency. They have a warrant in hand with Kane Gamble's name on it. We're here to arrest Kane Gamble on charges related to computer hacking and unauthorized access, the lead officer explains. Kane's parents are absolutely stunned by this development. Their quiet son who goes to school and plays video games, who seems perfectly normal in every way, what could he have possibly done to warrant this kind of response? The officers don't waste time with explanations as they move efficiently through the house toward Kane's bedroom. Kane wakes up to officers entering his room, and his heart immediately starts pounding. This is the moment he knew was eventually coming, but it's still terrifying when it actually arrives. They place him under arrest while he's still trying to fully wake up and process what's happening. The officer sees absolutely everything from his room. Computers, phones, notebooks, external hard drives, USB sticks, anything that might contain evidence. Evidence of CWA operations is found throughout his devices and recovered from online services once they start looking. Chat logs, leaked documents, digital traces of his activities. Kane's operational security had significant flaws despite thinking he was being careful. He thought encryption and VPNs made him invisible, but he was wrong about that. At the police station, Kane initially denies everything during questioning, but the evidence against him is completely overwhelming. Forensic analysis directly links his devices to CWA accounts and leaked documents. His online activity leaves a clear trail despite his attempts at anonymity. Eventually, Kane admits to his role in the attacks. During court proceedings, he would claim political motivations for his actions, citing opposition to U.S. foreign policy. The judge would later reject these justifications, viewing them as attempts to rationalize criminal behavior rather than legitimate activism. CWA reacts to Kane's arrest with mixed responses across their online presence. Some members immediately go silent and disappear from social media. Others post defiant messages. Kane's arrest effectively ends CWA's main operations, though the group doesn't formally dissolve. At just 16 years old, Kane faced serious legal consequences under UK law. The British authorities maintained jurisdiction over the case given his age and location. He was classified as a youth offender with no prior criminal record, and the legal process would determine his fate. The British justice system treats young first-time offenders differently than adult defendants. Other CWA members would face consequences as well. Justin Liverman in North Carolina and Andrew Boggs in Liverpool were arrested and prosecuted separately in connection with CWA activities. But Kane, as the most prolific social engineer in the group, faced the most serious charges. The question now was what sentence Kane would receive for his role in humiliating America's intelligence agencies.
On April 20th, 2018, Kane Gamble was sentenced at the Old Bailey to 2 years in a youth detention center for a series of offenses committed when he was just 15 and 16 years old. Judge Charles Haddon Cave described his actions as utterly inexcusable and said Kane had acted as if he were playing God by wreaking havoc on the lives of public servants. Gamble has kept a low profile since his release. The vulnerabilities he exploited, Weaknesses in authentication, misplaced trust in phone-based verification, and human error remain challenges for organizations worldwide.